We're gonna make a tomato pie, but let's turn it up a bit and make a tomato, feta, and basil pie. We're gonna do another recipe with these rolled pie crusts that you can get. You can obviously make your own. I've already sprayed my little pie dish here. We're just gonna roll this out onto the pie dish. My oven is actually currently preheating to 400. It should be done any second now. And then we're gonna just cook this just a little bit while we prep some of the other ingredients that are going into this. You can scallop the edges and make this look really pretty if you want to. I'm just laying it here into the pie dish. And we're gonna cover it with foil. Because I don't have any pie weights or anything like that, I've been using this right here, which is just another dish, laying it on top. Obviously this is oven safe and that's gonna kind of hold it down. So that's my makeshift pie weight. This is gonna go into the 400-degree preheated oven for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna prep the rest of the ingredients. Once that's been in there for 5 minutes, we will remove the foil and bake it for another 5 minutes. Then we can start assembling everything. I've got a cutting board and a colander, and I'm actually gonna set the colander in the sink. This recipe actually calls for 3 large tomatoes. We're gonna be using 4 kind of smaller ones because that's what was available. So we're going to go ahead and slice these. All right, I'm not great on the whole measuring the size of slices, so I'll just show you one after I get a slice. How about that? Okay, so it's like a good burger slice. That's what you would want, like a decent size, really good slice. Putting them in the colander, and those are just gonna drain off for a bit while we work on the other ingredients. Also, if you are newer here and you don't know why my kitchen suddenly looks different, we are at my husband's family's, well, my mother-in-law's beach place. Now you can make these slices thinner if that's something that you prefer. I like mine to be a little thicker. Okay, so these are all in a colander, and we're just gonna let those drain out. Once they're drained, we also will pat them dry just to make sure they're really nice and drained out. We're gonna dice up some garlic, and we're gonna take it over to the stovetop and saute it a bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna use 1 clove of garlic, but you use whatever you would like to use. I wonder if we have a garlic mincer here. Let me check. We do not, so I will be doing this the old-fashioned way. And before I start dicing this up, I'm actually gonna take the foil off of the pie crust that's in the oven and let that stay in there for about 5 more minutes. The entire time that we were here, I only needed 1 clove of garlic, so I didn't wanna go buy one of those things, you know, the minced garlic packet thing, containers. So we're gonna saute this in some olive oil. This is gonna take like 3 minutes at the most, and then we're gonna move on. All right, I did bring some basil from my basil plant at home, and you may wanna use more than what I am using. I just brought what I had. Also, I'm starting to lose light. There's a lot of light in here during the day, but right around 5:30, plus it's been a rainy day. So I'm taking all the leaves off, and we're just gonna do a quick chop of these. You can do a much better job than I am if you would like to, but I'm keeping it really simple. So this is probably only a 1/4 cup. Ideally, you would have half. It depends on how much you like basil. Ideally, you would have a 1/2 cup, possibly more. All right, so I do have a bowl here. We're gonna take the sauteed garlic, and we're gonna put that into this bowl. It's gonna be our mixing bowl. I am gonna add in the basil. Oh, I also went ahead and drained the tomatoes as best as possible, and then you do wanna pat them off. Even after draining them, you can see how much water is on this paper towel. So you wanna make sure that you get them, they don't need to be perfectly dry, but as dry as possible. To my mixing bowl, I'm gonna add about a 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese. We are gonna use some for topping and at the bottom of the crust. So I do wanna make sure that I reserve some for that. You also need approximately a 1/2 cup of mayo. So whatever your favorite mayo is, you guys know what ours is. Add that to this right here. And I'm not measuring, this is, you know, ish. Okay, it's just a little preliminary stir here. Now I'm gonna add in some feta cheese. You want about 6 ounces of feta cheese. I brought mine from home. I'm gonna mix all of that in. I do think it needs a touch more mayo, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that. I did add a little bit of salt to the sauteing garlic, but I am gonna add a touch of salt here too, maybe a 1/2 teaspoon or so. Okay, so I think we have all of our ingredients ready to go now. Okay, I've got my half-baked pie crust here. Still a little warm. All right, so we are going to take some of our mozzarella cheese and I'm gonna put that at the bottom. And you do not have to mix all this together either. You can do this in layers if that's something that you would prefer. I just feel like I'm just mixing it all together, trying to keep this as easy as possible. You wanna have a good amount of tomatoes because, I mean, it's a tomato pie. Now I'm gonna add some of our mixture to the top and just do my very best to spread it around. This is why the layering might be a little easier, but you're gonna get the same taste, so that's a good thing. Now I'm gonna add another layer of tomatoes and the mixture that we made. Last bit of this, just fill in anywhere that we need to. Now I'm gonna take the rest of my mozzarella cheese, which is not very much, and we're just gonna top we're gonna use the rest of it and just top this. Probably could have been more conservative with the mozzarella cheese on a recipe that I made yesterday, and we would have more. Okay, now I'm gonna spray the bottom of my foil so it doesn't stick. Cover this with your foil. I'm gonna let this bake for about 20 minutes with the foil on. Take the foil off and then let it bake for an additional 10 to 15, just judging on the color. I want a nice color on the top, adding some brown because of those cheeses. All right, here is that tomato pie. It looks so delicious. I am gonna tell you though, my mom actually made this the other day. She did hers in a layer format and hers looked way better. So don't try and reinvent the wheel. You don't need to mix all the ingredients together. Just do it layered and it's obviously gonna have the same flavors, but it's gonna look pretty. I did love how this still cut into that perfect piece. As you can see here, you love when you can lift up a piece like that and it all stays together. Let's give it a taste. I've gotta get a bite that has all the flavors in there. Guys, this is delicious. You have to make this. You get all of those cheese flavors, you get the hint of tomato and that basil. Everything fits together so well. This just like savory pie. It is absolutely delicious. You need to make this one. I'm serious. We've made these before, but they are so delicious, we have to make them again. So I am making them fresh and new right now. My oven is currently preheating to 400 degrees. These are my favorite carrots to use for this recipe just because I love all the different colors. I get these at Trader Joe's. You might be able to get them at other grocery stores too, but feel free to use any type of carrot. I'm gonna drizzle with a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit, adding just a bit of salt, just a touch of pepper. Now I'm just gonna use my fingers, but you could definitely toss this in a bowl with some tongs. We're just gonna make sure that we get the salt and pepper and oil all over each one. All right, these are going in my 400 degree oven. They take in between 20 and 25 minutes or so, just depending on your oven and how big the carrots are. Now, while that's in the oven, we're gonna start our brown butter sauce. I'm just using about 2 tablespoons of butter. You would wanna use however much you're going to need, depending on the number of carrots that you're doing. I also have some sage. We're gonna toss in some sage leaves so those can be cooking with the butter. I don't particularly love sage unless it's just infusing butter. So I personally like to cook with the sage and then take it out. My heat is on medium high right now, and we're just waiting till that butter melts. All right, you can see my butter is getting kind of bubbly, which is great. We're gonna continue to cook this until we start to see brown. We're gonna continue to cook this until we start to see brown flecks in the butter, and that's how we know that we are cooking, that things are going well, and that's when we'll pull off the heat. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see the brown flecks? That's what you're looking for. That means we are almost there. Once you start to see lots of those brown flecks, we'll pull this off, and I'll just put it into some sort of little bowl, and then once the carrots are done, we'll pour over the carrots. Now we have our brown butter sauce. Now we're just waiting on those carrots. If you haven't loved carrots in the past, but you haven't tried them with this brown butter sauce, you might want to give it a go. It could change your tune. Trust me on this, so good. It is the best flavor. We are going to make honey butter skillet corn. This entire corn recipe is gonna be made over on the stovetop. We don't have any prep work at all, so I'm just gonna move straight over there. 2 tablespoons of butter here in this skillet. I'm gonna turn my heat on to like a medium high and start to get this melted. Okay, I'm gonna add about 2 tablespoons of honey to this, and we're gonna melt that together. Now I'm gonna use smaller bags of corn, so I'm adding about 20 ounces or so of corn. You can use 16-ounce bags if you wanna do that. I'm using these steam in a bag corn bags, but that's just because I happen to have these and we need to get them used up. So you can use whatever kind of corn you wanna use. White corn would be really good with this too. All right, we're gonna let this cook for about 5 to 8 minutes. We're gonna stir it occasionally. I wanna make sure that that corn gets that really good butter and honey flavor to it. So we'll make sure those get nicely coated. All right, this has been cooking for about 7, 8 minutes or so. We are going to take 2 ounces of cream cheese and cube it up a little bit and start to combine this with the cream cheese. So that's actually a little more than 2 ounces, but the package was almost gone, so we might as well use it. Start to combine this and get that cream cheese melted. I'm also gonna add in about a ½ teaspoon or so of salt and pepper. All right, we gotta give this a try, obviously. That's where it's at right there. Here is the honey butter skillet corn. It is so good. We are going to use another ranch packet and make a loaded potato salad. All right, for my potato salad, I am using leftover red potatoes from Easter lunch, but you can absolutely just boil fresh potatoes. But if I need to add more, I'll boil a couple, but these were just easy to use. And the only thing that's on them is a little bit of rosemary and olive oil. So super easy. It's basically the same thing that I would do if I was boiling them. Now, I will have the full recipe in the description box, a link for you guys to click. We are making definitely a half recipe, maybe even a little less than half, because the recipe calls for 3 pounds of red potatoes, and this is probably only 1 pound. Okay, I'm gonna add about 3 ounces or so of sour cream, or in our case, we use Greek yogurt. The full recipe calls for a full 8-ounce container. We just don't need that. We are going to add roughly a 1/4 cup of mayo. And I'm adding about 1/3 of this ranch dressing mix, ranch seasoning mix, 1/3 of a packet or so. All right, let's get that stirred up together. To add some shredded cheddar cheese. I'm gonna do roughly a 1/2 cup or so for this. Maybe even a little less than a 1/2 cup. I'm going to slice up 1 green onion, and that's gonna go in there as well. That, and then the last step is to just add some crumbled bacon. You know, that's what takes it over the top. I'm thinking about 2 pieces would work for this amount. All right, friends, here we go, a loaded ranch potato salad. I've got some corn here. We are gonna throw these on the grill. They're gonna cook on the grill for about 15 minutes or so, and then we're gonna bring them back inside, because while these are grilling, I've got this kind of sauce that we're gonna make up. It's a whole process, but I'm telling you, the ingredients in this, it's gonna be delicious. We are going to add about a 1/4 cup of sour cream. So I'm not measuring that, just roughly a 1/4 cup. I am going to chop up some fresh cilantro. You want roughly 2 tablespoons or so, but I would just say use the amount that you want, that you like. All right, let's add that in. Okay, we need about a ½ teaspoon of salt. The recipe calls for a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I'm gonna go really easy on this because cayenne is really spicy. So that's maybe more like an 1/8 teaspoon. You can also add regular pepper to this if you want to. Let's mix this together really well. The recipe does not call for this, but I'm gonna add a little bit of chili powder. Just gonna add some more really good flavor. All right, as far as this goes, we can just cover it, pop it in the refrigerator, and then we're gonna use this once that corn comes off. Next up, while these are still on the grill, I'm gonna make sure everything is ready to go. We are taking some tortilla chips. These are just plain salted tortilla chips, but you can use whatever kind you want. I'm gonna take a handful or so, put them into this bag, and we are going to crush them. This will be the fun part. I don't think we're gonna need more than that, but we'll keep these close by just in case. I'm gonna transfer the chips to a plate where we can roll the corn around. You'll see. You get my drift? You get what's coming here? All right, so it's laid out, ready to go on this plate. I'm about to go pull that corn off and we are going to finish it up. Okay, friends, these already look delicious, but let's just spice them up a little bit. Let's make them even more delicious. What do you guys think? Let's go ahead and just put these out on this and then we'll transfer them hot back to this plate. Take some of this all over the corn. You think that's better?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Wow.
You're so right.
Ain't that something?
Okay, now I'm calling it buttered side, but it's not butter. Sour cream side down, and then add some of this. And just roll it in those chips. And once we get it, once we're done with this portion, these are gonna go back on the grill just for about 1 to 2 minutes and just let all those flavors work together. The second I saw this recipe, I was like, we have to try this one. All right, friends, let's take these back out to the grill. They're gonna cook for just a couple more minutes. I am going to attempt to try this. Okay, that's really interesting. The corn is sweet. Then you get the saltiness of that potato chip. That's really, really interesting. I love the contrast too of the corn being not necessarily soft, but like a softer texture, and then the crispiness of that tortilla chip. This is really interesting, guys. I love the flavors there. You guys know we like cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, then you might want to change that up, but it's definitely worth trying. Tonight, I am going to attempt to make these Greek style potatoes that we get at a restaurant that we love. I don't know if these are gonna turn out quite exactly, but we're gonna try them and see what happens. These are just little red potatoes. I am going to, most of them are small enough that I can just quarter them. This one's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to cut it into each side into 6 pieces, so 12 total. But like I said, most of them are smaller than that. Next step may be slightly unnecessary, but just stay with me here. I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup of olive oil to this blender cup. Let's add around 1/2 cup of lemon juice. So I actually might go a little less on this, maybe 1/3 cup. Now, if you are going to roast these in your oven, you wanna add more broth than I'm going to add. So I'm just gonna add maybe a couple tablespoons of broth, but you're actually gonna add a whole cup of broth if you roast them in your oven. I'm gonna do these in the air fryer. You wanna add a good amount of garlic. So I'm gonna actually, let's mix all of this together and then we'll add the garlic and the oregano. I wanna make sure it gets nice and combined. I'm gonna add in a good amount of garlic. The recipe actually calls for 8 cloves. So like I said, it's heavy on the garlic for sure. 1/2 tablespoon of dried oregano. And the recipe does not call for this, but I am gonna add a little bit of dill because we just love the flavor of dill. And let's mix this together. Now, if you're gonna do this in the oven, you need your oven preheated to 340 degrees, and these are gonna take about 60 minutes. But like I said, we are gonna try these in the air fryer and see how it goes. Let me pour this over the potatoes. Now you want to get your potatoes nice and coated. And in fact, you're gonna see there's a lot of leftover olive oil and dressing at the bottom. I am not gonna throw that out because we are going to drizzle these potatoes once they're completely cooked in that same stuff. So we wanna make sure that we have a little extra if we need it. All right, you guys, we're gonna try 400 degrees for about 10 minutes. We'll see where we are from there and then shake halfway through, do all the things. I'll let you know how much time these end up taking. All right, guys, 10 minutes was not enough. So I did shake these halfway. We're gonna go, I don't know, I might even try another 10 just seeing where we are, and there's a lot of potatoes in here. All right, you guys, I think these are done. Overall, we took about 22 minutes. All right, I did taste one of the potatoes and I feel like it needs more salt. So I'm gonna add a little bit more salt to the dressing here, mix that together, and then we'll drizzle over the potatoes. And just to add a bit more color, I'm just going to add some parsley. All right, friends, here are the potatoes, the Greek style potatoes that we are having with dinner tonight. These Greek style potatoes were really delicious. They weren't exactly like the ones from the restaurant that we get that we love so much, but I'm gonna keep working on them. And you guys know if I perfect it, I'll bring them back to you again and I will show you the perfect recipe. But these were a very, very good substitution for those. For this next recipe, I've got some corn. You guys saw me make this in my Pampered Chef microwavable pot. And all that you do is put this in the microwave with some water and it just steams your vegetables for you, which is really convenient. I also use white corn, but you don't feel like you have to. You use whatever you can get a hold of. And so I use 2 bags because I know we've got people coming over and I wanna make more. And then I just let it sit in some cold water so that it would cool off a bit. I don't want hot corn here. I'm sure you could serve this hot, but we are choosing to serve it cold. I've also got some bacon that I just finished making. We're gonna crumble this up. So I'm just gonna take a few pieces and crumble it up and add it here. So you can use whatever amount you want, but you guys know we don't usually skimp on the bacon. We do really enjoy bacon. So I think I'm gonna end up using about 6 to 7 pieces. I've also got some green onion here. We are gonna chop up a couple of these. I don't know, we'll just kind of see how it goes. If you're just making the normal size recipe, you're probably gonna use 2 tablespoons or so. I did more because we did double the corn. I mean, you guys know on recipes like this, it's not baking, it's not technically chemistry. So you're not, needing to make sure that the cake is going to rise the way that it should. I'm just a big believer that you should put more of what you love in these recipes. I made homemade ranch. You guys know I have to make homemade ranch. We're gonna add about a cup, maybe a little less, just because a cup is quite a bit. So maybe like 3/4, and we'll add more of this if we feel like it needs it. We're adding in some cheddar, some Kerrygold cheddar, but you guys just use whatever kind of cheese you like, and you need about a cup of this. So even if you are making the regular size and you're not doubling it, you still want a good amount of cheese. Okay, we're gonna use the juice of 1 lime. So, oh, this is a new one. Let's start with 2 tablespoons. We'll see how that goes, and if I feel like it needs more lime flavor, then we can add it. Actually, let's just go for it. Let's go for it. I'm gonna go for the 3. Watch, it's probably gonna have too much lime in it. I'm gonna go with 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. And then you have to add some salt and pepper, of course. Gotta add some good flavor in there. So I'm probably going with a little under a teaspoon of salt, and we will obviously taste test and make sure that it has everything that it needs. Add some pepper. Let's taste it and see if it needs anything. That is really good and really interesting. The lime, wow, okay. And then you get the pepper. Okay, it's like there's a series of flavors that you get out of this. The first thing that hits is that ranch, then the lime, then you hit the pepper and the garlic, This is really good, you guys. Okay, I'm not gonna add anything. I think it's really good the way that it is. So the only thing that I'm gonna do is put some of the green onion on the top just for color so it looks really pretty. I don't know if this serving bowl is big enough, but we're gonna go for it and see what happens. Comment down below, is anybody else like this? I feel like it's not depth. I have a really difficult time looking at a product, like if you need to put something in Tupperware, looking at the Tupperware and trying to figure out what size Tupperware I need that would be appropriate for like leftovers. I don't know what you call that. I know there's a word and I'm trying to think of it and it's just not coming to me, but comment down below, is anybody like that? Because I mean, for some reason, my husband will make fun of me, but sometimes I'll look at like this much leftover food and I'm pulling out a container of this size right here. Our verse today comes from Psalm 42:11. Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God, for I shall again praise him, my salvation and my God. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you need more inspiration, you are going to love the video above.